Most gardeners waste wood ash. They either dump it in a pile, scatter it too thick, or avoid it completely because they burn their plants once. The real consequence is erratic soil pH, locked-up nutrients, calcium imbalances, and beds that swing from productive to stalled in a single season. Wood ash is not a casual amendment, it's a concentrated mineral input. Used loosely, it causes problems. Used precisely, it delivers professional-level results. If you're serious about soil performance and not interested in repeating backyard myths, subscribe now. This channel is about controlled results, not random inputs. The problem isn't wood ash, it's how people apply it. Wood ash is highly alkaline. Depending on the burn source, it can have a pH between 9 and 13. It's rich in potassium, calcium carbonate, and trace minerals, but it contains zero nitrogen. When people throw it directly around plants, they create localized pH spikes that disrupt microbial balance and root uptake. I learned this the hard way years ago in a raised bed of carrots. I scattered ash lightly, well, what I thought was lightly, across the surface before a rain. Germination was uneven, growth was stunted in patches, and the soil surface crusted. The ash didn't feed the bed. It shocked it. The breakthrough came when I stopped treating ash like a powder and started treating it like a mineral concentrate that needed controlled delivery. That's where pellets changed everything. The pellet method turns ash from a volatile input into a slow-release mineral amendment. Here's what I do. First, I sift wood ash through a fine mesh to remove charcoal chunks and debris. Then I blend it with screened compost at a ratio of 1 part ash to 4 parts compost by volume. That dilution is critical. Pure ash is just too aggressive. To that blend, I add a small amount of water, just enough to make it clump like damp sand. Not mud, just workable. Then I compress the mixture into small pellets, roughly the size of large marbles. You can do this by hand with gloves or use a simple pellet press if you're scaling up. The goal is density. Tight pellets slow the release. I let them dry completely for several days until they harden. Now, instead of scattering ash across the soil surface, I place pellets strategically. In a 4x8 raised bed, I use about 10 to 15 pellets spaced evenly before planting heavy feeders like tomatoes, squash, or potatoes. That's it. Not a layer, not a dusting. Controlled points of mineral release. As the pellets break down with irrigation and microbial activity, potassium and calcium diffuse gradually into the root zone. No shock, no crusting. Professional results come from controlled mineral delivery. The first season I tested this on tomatoes, I compared one bed with broadcast ash and one with pelletized ash. The broadcast bed had inconsistent growth. The pellet bed showed thicker stems, improved flowering, and noticeably reduced blossom end rot. Blossom end rot is often blamed purely on calcium deficiency, but in reality it's usually a calcium uptake problem caused by moisture inconsistency or nutrient imbalance. Pelletized ash helped stabilize calcium availability without overwhelming the soil. In clay-heavy soils, the effect is even more pronounced. Clay tends to bind nutrients tightly. When ash is broadcast, calcium carbonate can clump and alter surface structure. But when applied as pellets below the surface, about 2 inches deep during planting, it integrates gradually. In my in-ground potato rows, I place 1 pellet every 12 inches directly beneath the seed piece before covering. That simple change improved tuber size and skin quality noticeably. Potassium plays a major role in tuber development. Pellet delivery makes it consistent. Now let's address pH. Wood ash raises soil pH. That's useful if your soil is acidic. It's damaging if your soil is already neutral or alkaline. I test soil annually. If pH is above 7, I skip ash entirely. In slightly acidic beds around pH 6.0 to 6.5, pelletized ash helps bring levels closer to the optimal 6.5 to 6.8 range for most vegetables. But again, moderation matters. In sandy soils, I reduce the ash ratio to 1 part ash to 6 parts compost because nutrients leach faster. In heavier soils, the standard 1:4 ratio works well. Let's talk hydroponics briefly. Pure wood ash has no place in active hydro systems. It's too alkaline and unpredictable. But I have experimented with filtering ash-infused compost tea through fine filtration and adding extremely small amounts to soil-based hybrid grow systems. And I mean small. We're talking under 1% of total nutrient solution volume, closely monitored with EC and pH meters. This is advanced experimentation, not something beginners should attempt casually. For most growers, keep ash use strictly in soil systems. Another mistake I see is combining ash with high nitrogen fertilizers at the same time. Wood ash can react with ammonium-based nitrogen sources, increasing nitrogen loss through volatilization. Translation: you waste nitrogen. I separate applications by at least 2 to 3 weeks. Nitrogen first, ash later. Pellets prevent that reaction somewhat because the ash isn't dispersed instantly across the soil surface. Now let's talk about timing. I apply ash pellets either in late fall after harvest or early spring, about 2 to 3 weeks before planting. That allows gradual integration before roots hit full growth mode. For perennial crops like fruit trees, I place pellets in a ring at the drip line, not against the trunk, about 3 inches deep. For a mature apple tree, I'll use 20 to 25 pellets, spaced evenly around the canopy edge once per year. That supports flowering and fruit development without shocking the root zone. The results aren't dramatic overnight. They're steady improvements in plant strength, fruit set, and overall vigor. And here's something most people overlook. Ash contributes trace minerals often missing from commercial fertilizers. When you burn clean hardwood, you concentrate elements drawn up by the tree over decades. But quality matters. Only use ash from untreated, unpainted, natural wood. No plywood, no pressure-treated lumber, no charcoal briquettes with additives. Professional gardens operate on precision, not guesswork. The pellet system forces you to measure. It slows you down. It prevents the lazy just sprinkle some approach that causes damage. In my beds, I don't exceed 10 pounds of raw ash equivalent per 1,000 square feet per year. With pellet dilution, that's easy to control. Over-application is where most gardeners go wrong. There are trade-offs. If your soil is already high in potassium, excessive ash can create magnesium imbalance. If your irrigation water is alkaline, ash may push pH too high over time. Always test, adjust, and observe. But when managed properly, pelletized wood ash becomes a targeted mineral tool instead of a risky amendment. Since adopting this method, my yields are more consistent. My fruiting crops show better structural strength. Soil crusting has disappeared, and I no longer worry about accidental pH spikes. The secret isn't ash itself, it's controlled release. Stop wasting wood ash by treating it like dust. Treat it like concentrated minerals that deserve precision. If this kind of practical, measured soil strategy helps you move from hobby gardening to professional level results, subscribe to the Husbandry channel. Share this with another grower who's tired of unpredictable harvests. Better food doesn't come from more inputs, it comes from smarter ones.